Hi class, this week we will study Majjhima Nikaya. Last week we focused on Digha Nikaya mainly. Today we will study overview about Majjhima Nikaya. Majjhima Nikaya is comprised of the sutra with a middle length compared to the longer sutta of Digha Nikaya and shorter suttas making up the Samyutta Nikaya and Anguttara Nikaya. Most sutra in Majjhima Nikaya are very shorter length compared to the Digha Nikaya. Majjhima Nikaya consists of 152 sutra, and these 150 sutra are divided into 3 parts or 3 books called Pannasa. Pannasa means a set of 50. So each Pannasa is composed of 50 suttas. The first Pannasa contains 50 suttas, which is called Mula Pannasa Pali. The second part of Majjhima Nikaya is another set of 50 suttas are called Majjhima Pannasa Pali. And the third part is composed of 52 sutra, which is called Uparipannasa Pali. Each part is further grouped into chapters or divisions of 10 suttas. So each part has 50 suttas, and then these 50 suttas is further grouped into division of 10 suttas. First part, Mula Pannasa Pali, deals with 50 suttas in 5 bhagas, 5 division of 10 suttas. The second book, Majjhima Pannasa Pali, also consists of second 50 suttas in 5 bhagas too. 5 bhagas of the third book, Uparipannasa Pali, which means more than 50. Uparipannasa Pali is more than 50. So the first book, Mula Pannasa Pali, deals with the first 50 suttas in 5 bhagas, such as Mula Pariyaya Bhaga, Sihanada Bhaga, Tatiya Bhaga, Mahayamaka Bhaga, and Kulayamaka Bhaga. Majjhima Nikaya has been told that the entire system of classification appears to have been devised more for the purpose of convenience because of any essential homogeneity of subject matter in each division. First part, Mula Pannasa Pali, contains 50 sutra, and then this 50 sutra is divided into 5 bhaga, 5 divisions. The first division, Mula Pariyaya Bhaga, the division of the discourse of the root. And second, Singhana Bhaga, the division of the lion's roar. Third, Titiya Bhaga, the third division. The Mahayamaka Bhaga, the great division of pairs. And then Kulayamaka Bhaga, the shorter division of pairs. Sutras in Majjhima Nikaya throw much light on the social ideas and institutions of those days. Many sutras in Majjhima Nikaya provide general information on the economic and political life. Special features of Majjhima Nikaya is described like this. Majjhima Nikaya combines the richest variety of contextual settings with the deepest and most comprehensive assortment of teachings. Sometimes some sutra shows a stanza, sometimes some sutra described by way of a simile or a drama and a narrative based on a fascinating scenario. In Magandiya Sutta, which is Majjhima Nikaya number 75, there is a stanza appear like this. the greatest of all gains is health. Nibbana is the greatest bliss. The Eightfold Path is the best of paths, for it leads safely to the deathless. Majjhima Nikaya gives an account of skillful means of the Buddha's teachings in a way that the listeners or interlocutors are attracted with the Buddha's gentle humor, Buddha's majestic sublimity, and Buddha's generous compassion. So some suttas in Majjhima Nikaya are very interesting. And compared to long lengths of Digha Nikaya, it's not bored. It's very short, but it provides impressive message. In Akarya Abhuta Sutta, which is Majjhima Nikaya 123, the Buddha was a bodhisattva who lived in the Tusita heaven. Once the bodhisattva passed away from the Tusita heaven, he descended into his mom's womb. This sutra praised 20 marvelous attributes of the Buddha from the conception until the birth of the Buddha. Another sutra named Magandiya Sutta, which is Majjhima Nikaya 75, describes the Buddha's lifetime as a prince. In a Magandiya Sutta, there's a paragraph appear like this. When I lived the home life, I enjoyed myself, provided and endowed with the 5 chords of sensual pleasure. So when I lived the home life means when the Buddha was prince in Shaka kingdom, Buddha really provided and endowed with the 5 chords of sensual pleasure, such as forms cognizable by the eye, with the sounds cognizable by the ear, with the odors cognizable by the nose, with the flavors cognizable by the tongue, with the tangibles cognizable by the body, that are connected with the sensual desire and provocative of lust. Continue that Magandi Sutta says, I had 3 palaces, one for the rainy season, one for the winter, and one for the summer. I lived in the rain's palace for the 4 months of the rainy season, enjoying myself with the musicians, none of whom were men, and I did not go down the lower palace. The Buddha was prince. He had 3 palaces, so his life pattern is kind of luxurious. From this Magandi Sutta, the Buddha told Magandi, the ascetic wanderer, about the story of his renunciation and then how he left luxurious palaces and then found happiness which were superior to any of the sensuous pleasure. And just before I said in Akarya Abhuta Sutta, the Buddha was bodhisattva in previous his life, and then this bodhisattva stay in the Tusita heaven. And then there is a sculpture inscribed about the bodhisattva preaching in the Tusita heaven. So when you look at this sculpture, there is no Buddha statue, but you can see these kinds of tree. This sculpture was built after Buddha passed away. Therefore, still they think that Buddha is a holy creature. Therefore, they do not put Buddha statue. They just symbolize the Buddha as a tree. And then many disciples used to request for Buddha's preaching. Sometimes the Buddha can be symbolized as a tree, or sometimes just an empty chair or footprint, because the Buddha is too much holy. So it's really hard to draw his image and then just to symbolize as a tree or empty chair or a footprint or sometimes the tree leaves. You can see this is kind of symbolized of a bodhisattva Actually, the Buddha is a previous life as a bodhisattva staying in the two-seater heaven and provide preaching to the beings who stay in the two-seater heaven. So another sculpture this time, this also shows two-seater heaven. This is later art, later carving. So the Buddha provided preaching in two-seater heaven. At the time, Buddha was a bodhisattva. In other words, this bodhisattva has not been fully enlightened. In Ariyapariyesena Sutta, which is Majjhima Nikaya 26, the Buddha practiced with two teachers before he got fully enlightened. So once he left the palace, he tried to find a teacher, and at the time he has two teachers, and then those teachers were described in Majjhima Nikaya 26, Ariyapariyesena Sutta. Two teachers' name is Alaya Kalama and Uddaka Lamaputta. The Buddha followed two teachers' teaching. However, Buddha realized that this Dhamma does not lead to disenchantment, does not lead to dispassionate, does not lead to cessation, does not lead to peace, not lead to direct knowledge, to enlightenment, does not lead to nibbana, but only to reappearance in the plane of no thing. What is the meaning of no thing? So there is a sphere of existence called the base of no thingness, in which the lifespan is supposed to be 60,000 aeons. Aeons means inconceivably long space of time is called aeons. Amazingly long space of time. The sphere of no thingness is supposed to be, lifespan is 60,000. It's inconceivably long time. But even though that long time has elapsed, one must pass away and return to a lower world. So one still cannot free from birth and death, but is caught in the trap of Mara. Mara means, M-A-R-A, is like a personalized form of a death. There is birth and death, and then this Mara manages the death of people. The death is kind of an abstract concept, but this concept can be personalized and then feel like someone controls death or manage the death. And those person is called Mara, M-A-R-A. But conceptually, Mara means death. Once follow these two teachers' practice, Buddha realized there is some limit. And that limit really does not allow the Buddha fully enlightened, and then he still come back to realm of sensual desire. Eventually, he left these two teachers. He practiced by himself. Finally, he discovered the Noble Eightfold Path. So in this Ariyapariyesena Sutta, the Buddha stressed two different types of search. He explained it was extremely unwise to go after sensual pleasure, which subject one to aging, disease, and death. The most noble search was to seek out that which will liberate one from aging, disease, and even death. When the Buddha followed two teachers, Buddha can now liberate himself from aging, disease, and death. Therefore, he practiced by his way and eventually discovered the noble path of 8 constituents. In some sense, it's similar to Digha Nikaya. When you read Majjhima Nikaya, you will hear many sutta for 8 noble paths, noble eightfold path, or 4 noble truths, and also meditation, of course. Okay. So some ideas underlying Majjhima Nikaya are overlapped to those in Digha Nikaya. Most sutta in Majjhima Nikaya were preached by the Buddha, but some suttas delivered by the Buddha's disciple. The Buddha's disciple delivered the transmission of the Buddha's teachings in Majjhima Nikaya. The Venerable Sariputta spoke 9 sutras in Majjhima Nikaya. Sammaditthi Sutta, which is Majjhima Nikaya 9, is an exposition on the right view delivered by the Venerable Sariputta. Sariputta addressed that when physical, verbal, and mental actions are motivated by greed, hatred, and delusion, such as 3 poison, and they are deemed to be bad. When they arise, such as physical, verbal, and mental actions arise through non-greed, non-hatred, and non-delusion, the actions are deemed to be good. Right view. Sammaditthi means samma, right? Ditti, view, or thinking of way. The right view is understanding what a good deed is and what a bad deed is. So it is a full comprehension of the Four Noble Truths and not holding on to eternity views concerning atta, such as self. Sariputta also delivered the sermon in Majjhima Nikaya 28, Mahahati Padopama Sutta. And Venerable Sariputta used the simile of the elephant footprint in Mahahati Padopama Sutta. Venerable Sariputta explained that just as the footprint of all animals could be contained within the footprint of an elephant, all wholesome dhammas were comprised in the Four Noble Truths. Also, Sariputta gave a sermon in Sakkavivanga Sutta, which is Majjhima Nikaya 141. In Sakkavivanga Sutta, the Buddha urged the bhikkhus to seek guidance from the 2 Thera. They were Venerable Sariputta and the Venerable Moggallana. The Venerable Sariputta could analyze and explain the Four Noble Truths in detail and lead the bhikkhus to the stage of the first path and fruition. First path of fruition means Sotapanna, stream of entrance. So it's the beginning stage of following the Noble Eightfold Path. So these 3 suttas, the Sammaditthi, Mahahati Padopama Sutta, and Sakkavivanga Sutta become basic text for the study of a Buddhist doctrine in monastic school throughout the Theravada Buddhist world. Also, the Venerable Ananda delivered 7 sutras in Majjhima Nikaya. Also, the Venerable Mahakachana spoke 4 sutras in Majjhima Nikaya. The Venerable Mahamoggallana delivered 2 sutras in Majjhima Nikaya. Mahamoggallana gave the discourse to the bhikkhus in Anumana Sutta, which is Majjhima Nikaya 15. Mahamoggallana gave a discourse in a way that if 16 kinds of unwholesome dhammas were detected in oneself, a determined effort should be made to get rid of them. And then 60 kinds of unwholesome dhammas were listed in Anumana Sutta. There is a dialogue between Venerable Sariputta and Venerable Punna in Lata Vinita Sutta, which is Majjhima Nikaya 24. And this dialogue become foundation, a scheme on the Visuddhimagga. In Lata Vinita Sutta, recounts the dialogue between Venerable Sariputta and Venerable Punna on the 7 stages of purity, such as purity of sila, morality, purity of mind, purity of view. Those things must be passed before attainment to Nibbana. And then these dialogue become the foundation to a scheme of the Visuddhimagga. Also, not only Pigu, but also Piguni, whose name Dhammadina, was asked many questions by the householder Pisaka about personality, the origin of suffering, the cessation of suffering, and the way leading to cessation of suffering. All the questions were satisfactorily answered by the Piguni Dhammadina. Therefore, Buddha once listened to the answer from Piguni Dhammadina. The Buddha says, I would have explained it to you in the same way. That means Buddha praised the Piguni Dhammadina when Dhammadina answered to the question regarding Four Noble Truths. In this way, the Buddha's disciples deliver the transmission of the Buddha's teaching in Majjhima Nikaya. When you read some sutra in Majjhima Nikaya, you can estimate some annual schedule of the Buddha and his monastic community. And their annual schedule was determined by the Indian climate. Okay, some sutra says, stay in such monastery, or some sutra says when the Buddha strolled along the Ganges Valley, something like that. So the background of sutra can be determined depending on the Indian climate. The Indian climate divided the year into 3 seasons. The cold season from November through February, and hot season from March through June. During cold and hot season, the Buddha wandered through the Ganges Valley or the Himalayan foothills. And the last season is rainy season from July through October. During rainy season, the Buddha and his monastic community remained at a fixed residence because it was impossible to travel due to heavy rains and swollen rivers. Since the Buddha and his disciples stayed in a fixed location, the places where they stayed originate the monastery in the modern world. But except rainy season, during cold and hot season, the Buddha wandered through Ganges Valley or Himalayan foothills and then expounding his teachings to those who like to listen. So when you read many sutra in Majjhima Nikaya, you will hear about Jeta Grove or Jetavana. This is one of the famous monasteries where the Buddha stays during rainy season. There's some behind the story about Jetavana monastery at Savatthi. And this monastery was built by wealthy merchant Anathapindika. When Anathapindika first met the Buddha, the Anathapindika liked to offer the Buddha a meal as well as like to build a temple for the Buddha and Buddha's disciple in the hometown of Savatthi. And Buddha agreed with his offer. Shortly after, Anathapindika looking for peaceful, secluded place, which is very proper for Buddhist practice. But that place belonged to the Prince Jeta. So Jetavana or Jeta Grove, this Jeta actually was the name of a prince. And then Prince Jeta was the son of King Pasenadi of Kosala. Anathapindika offered to buy the park from the prince, but the Prince Jeta refused. But Anathapindika kept asking to sell that land. Then the Prince Jeta told to Anathapindika like this: okay, if you cover the land with gold, then I might think about to sell this land. Upon the Prince Jeta's comment, the Anathapindika covered the land with gold coin. So Anathapindika brought full of gold pieces with wagons to cover the land with gold coin. Once Prince Jeta heard about this news, Prince Jeta said that was joking. But Anathapindika really covered the land with gold coin, and Prince Jeta was surprised. But still, Prince Jeta does not want to sell that land. Also, the money brought by Anathapindika in the first journey was not sufficient to cover one small spot near the gateway. So Anathapindika think that, maybe that might be the reason why Prince Jeta still did not want to sell the land. So Anathapindika sent his servant back, to bring more gold coin. And that makes really impressed to Prince Jeta. Prince Jeta, inspired by Anathapindika's eagerness, eventually Prince Jeta sold the land to Anathapindika. And also, once Prince Jeta received money from Anathapindika, then Prince Jeta also erected a gateway. So Prince Jeta also contributed to build this Jetavana monastery. As you see this photo, it's a really wide area, and Anathapindika built in the grounds dwelling rooms, retiring room, storage and service hall, halls with a fireplace, closet, and halls for exercise, wells, bathroom, ponds, some open and roofed shed, etc. And this is the coin cover the land by Anathapindika. This is a sculpture, but probably when Anathapindika covered up the land, this coin should be made up of gold piece. In Jetavana Monastery or Jeta Grove, and there are some small stupa. As you can see, these are the stupa. And then inside the stupa, there's some relics made up of ashes. These ashes comes from cremation of a senior monk passed away. And then those relics put inside each stupa. Also in Jetavana Monastery, there's some sculpture you can see. So showing 3 preferred residents of the Buddha. So Jetavana Monastery is one residence the Buddha want to stay the most. So there's 3 preferred residents where the Buddha stay during rainy season. One of 3 is Jetavana Monastery. And then second monastery, I think Magadhi Monastery, and this was built by a female lay woman. She was called Mother of Magadha, but I tried to get the image of that Magadhi Monastery, but it was not easy. And then the other monastery might be called Bamboo Group. And then this is a monastery at Bamboo Group in Lagajaha. Lagajaha is more like in east to north side of India. And this bamboo monastery was built by King Bimbisara during 500 BC. And King Bimbisara is known for his cultural achievement, and King Bimbisara was a great friend and protector of the Buddha. The monastery at Bamboo Grove offered by the king of Magadha, who is Senya Bimbisara. You can see the king, here's the king. Bimbisara welcomed the Buddha, and here's Buddha, and then the Buddha's disciple. And another place Buddha gave a preach was Vulture Peak. The Vulture Peak, also known as Holy Place, and then it is named because it resembles a sitting vulture with its wings folded. So the Vulture Peak was the Buddha's favorite retreat in Lalagaha. It's an old city, the name of an old city. And the scene for many of his discourses also occur in Vulture Peak. So in this part, this place is still there, and then many pilgrimage visitors sitting here and then do Buddhist meditation practice. The current place is Bihar in India, Bihar in India, so east of India. So when you read Sutra in Majjhima Nikaya, the Buddha, there's some words or phrase to describe the Buddha, such as the giver of the deathless, or the Lord of the Dhamma, or the Holy One, fully enlightened one, Tathagata. These descriptions of the Buddha result from that the Buddha discovers the deepest truth about the nature of existence. Also, the Buddha established a dispensation through which the path to deliverance again becomes accessible to the world. In other words, once the Buddha fully enlightened, the Buddha might not be necessarily preached to the followers, but he chose the way to disseminate Buddhism. He provides path to deliverance, again, how the followers can reach enlightenment, nibbana. So this kind of deliverance really make the Buddha great, not only find the path to reach deathless, but also once he have perfect knowledge, he was not reluctant to provide this knowledge and to the followers. That's why he can have much more than this kind of words or phrase to describe the Buddha. And the last one, Tathagata. Tathagata appears in several sutras in Majjhima Nikaya. And the meaning of Tathagata, especially in Madhupindika Sutta, which is Majjhima Nikaya 18, the Pali commentator explains Tathagata this way. Tathagata means Tata Agata plus Tathagata. Tata Agata means thus come, and Tathagata means thus gone. So Tathagata literally means thus come and thus gone. So thus come means the one who comes into our midst bearing the message of deathlessness, to which he has gone by his own practice of the path. So he discovered the perfect path to reach deathlessness. And then he comes to this world to give that deliverance. And then also he gone once he finished his lifespan. And also in Mahasyanada Sutta, which is Majjhima Nikaya 12, the Tathagata is equipped to have a virtue such as 10 strengths and the 4 kinds of supreme self-confidence. So when you read this sutra, Mahasyanada Sutta, you will find that what are 10 strengths. Gopaka Moggallana Sutta, which is in Majjhima Nikaya 108, there's some dialogue occur in this sutra, such that there's two leading Brahmins ask the Venerable Ananda about whether the Buddha has appointed a particular bhikkhu or bhikkhuni to be the head of the Sangha after the Buddha passed away. In other words, Brahmins was curious about once Buddha passed away, who will play a role as like a Buddha? These Brahmins want to know if the Sangha had agreed upon a certain bhikkhu to be their head once the Buddha passed away. Then the Venerable Ananda informed two Brahmins like this: there was no such person. There is no person who could substitute the Buddha. Then two Brahmins wondered how the Sangha can maintain in agreement and unity. And two Brahmins think that, once Buddha passed away, there is no any person who play a role like a Buddha, then this Sangha is going to disintegrate. Then Venerable Ananda explained to the Brahmins that the Buddha's followers, disciples, had indeed found refuge in the Dhamma, and how the Sangha of each locality recited together Patimokkha. Patimokkha means every half month on full moon day, bhikkhus get together and recite Dhamma. Patimokkha, the summary of discipline rules. This way, the Buddha's disciples refuge in the Dhamma. This is the way how the Sangha maintain the system or order. Gopakammoggallana Sutta, there's some expression appear like this. The Blessed One was the arouser of the unarousing path, the producer of the unproduced path, the declarer of the undeclared path. He was the knower of the path, the finder of the path, and the one skilled in the path. You can see there's many paths, the word path appear. And then what kind of a path the Buddha discovered? So in other words, in this sutra, the Venerable Ananda say, the Buddha already discovered this path, let his followers reach to the deathless, and then it really provides Dhamma. We rely on that Dhamma by reciting Vinaya rules every half month. This is the way how we maintain Sangha. This is the way how the Buddha's disciples take refuge in the Dhamma, even though the Buddha once passed away. So the path, and then we can think about the Noble Eightfold Path. The Buddha discovered the Noble Eightfold Path. So 8 kinds of a path. What are those 8 kinds of a path? And this Noble Eightfold Path come out in Majjhima Nikaya, Digha Nikaya, any kinds of Nikaya. I hope you know at least what are the 8 kinds of Noble Path. So we will study the Noble Eightfold Path and analyze detail in the next class. Okay, let's solve some question. Which of the following is not true? So you will solve this question. I think it's not difficult. Another question, which of the following is not part of Sutta Pitaka? We are studying Sutta Pitaka. Last week you studied Digha Nikaya, and this week you study Majjhima Nikaya. And next week you will study Samyutta Nikaya. Which one does not belong to Sutta Pitaka? Another question is, how many sutras are there in Majjhima Nikaya? Today you heard this video, this lecture, then you will figure out how many sutras are there in Majjhima Nikaya. During which season in India did the Buddha remain at a fixed residence? So there are 3 seasons in India. I explain about this information in this lecture. Okay, this is the example of how you submit week 2 quiz. You need to send answer of a quiz to my email address, and at the time you need to include your email address in CC. Subject title, BMN 601 week 2 quiz. In the main text body, you need to write down your official name, write down last name, comma, followed by first name. Then you will write down the answer of each quiz question. If you think the correct answer is A to question 1, you just write down question 1, colon, A. Question 2, colon, C or B, whatever you think the best answer you think correct. And the due of this assignment is until October 18th, Friday. This is the end of lecture video. Thank you.